Hello. They always say ignorance is bliss, but that's just not true. I built a thriving cryptocurrency business from the ground up, but while my career was taking off, my marriage was quietly falling apart behind the scenes. All it took was one small accident and a single thing left out of place to tear down the world I thought I knew. Now I'm digging into a mess of lies that runs way deeper than I could have ever guessed. And when the full truth comes to light, nobody will be innocent, including me. I'm Logan Barrett, 39 years old, and I run a chain of crypto exchange shops scattered across Salt Lake City. I started with nothing, just a gut feeling that Bitcoin would be more than a passing fad, back when people still joked it was just internet monopoly money. These days, I've got 6 storefronts where folks can swap digital coins for cash and the other way around. Life's been good, a nice home and sugar house, the respect of other business owners, and a marriage I believed was rock solid. That Wednesday morning in November didn't feel any different at first. Rachel had called the night before, said she'd be home late. Some client dinner her PR firm couldn't push back. I was already asleep by the time she came through the door. I vaguely remember stirring in bed when I caught a whiff of some strange cologne, definitely not mine. But half asleep, I didn't think much of it. Just rolled over. "Babe, I'm heading out," she called from downstairs the next morning. She said she had an early meeting downtown. I wandered into the kitchen, still groggy, and saw her putting on lipstick in the mirror by the hall. "You look nice," I said as I poured my coffee. She flashed me that tight, polite smile she uses when she's distracted. "Thanks," she said. "Oh, and I had a little accident last night," she added casually. "What? Are you okay?" That woke me up a bit. "I'm fine," she replied quickly. She said she scraped the side of the car against a concrete barrier in the parking garage. Said it had been raining and visibility was awful. She brushed it off like it was nothing. Said the car still drove fine, just had some cosmetic damage. I offered to check it out, but she waved it off. "No need. Gotta run," she said, grabbing her keys. She gave me a quick kiss that barely touched my cheek and headed out the door. But something felt off. Rachel's usually super careful with her Hyundai, panics over the tiniest scratch. And I definitely didn't hear any rain the night before. In fact, I remembered clear skies when I went to bed. Once I finished my coffee, I stepped outside to toss the trash. That's when I noticed her car parked at a strange angle, like she'd pulled in fast and didn't bother fixing it. The scrape she mentioned was there on the passenger side, but I also spotted a dent on the back bumper she hadn't said a word about. I don't know what made me reach for the door handle, just a hunch. The car unlocked with a beep. Guess she left the key fob close enough. The moment I opened the door, I noticed something was off. The smell inside wasn't her usual vanilla perfume. Instead, it was something stronger, more masculine. I leaned in for a better look and saw muddy footprints on the passenger side floor mat. Thing is, we hadn't had any mud-making rain in Salt Lake City for weeks. My heart started pounding. The passenger seat was pushed way back, farther than Rachel would ever need it. In between the seats, I spotted a black metal money clip. It definitely wasn't mine. It wasn't hers either. Tucked into the clip was a business card for someone named Ryan Blake, an investment advisor. There were a few $100 bills folded in with it. But what really stopped me cold was a receipt half stuck under the floor mat. It was from the Holiday Inn Express, dated the night before. Room charges, 2 drinks from the hotel bar. And the signature? It was Rachel's handwriting, only it was signed as R. Blake. That was the moment I knew. There hadn't been any business dinner. No scraped car in the rain. Whatever story Rachel had told me, it was just that. A story. I sat there in her car for what felt like forever, gripping that hotel receipt like it might explain itself. My brain tried to come up with innocent reasons. But there weren't any. Not with the cologne. Not with the mud. And definitely not with that money clip from another man. I wanted to call her right then, demand she tell me the truth. But that would have only given her time to cover her tracks. If I really wanted answers, I had to play it smart. So I took pictures of everything. The receipt. The money clip. The mud. The seat pushed back like a giant had ridden shotgun. I needed proof, things she couldn't explain away. Then I carefully put everything back the way I'd found it and locked the door. Back inside, I poured myself another coffee and opened up my laptop. A quick search for Ryan Blake brought up a LinkedIn profile. Mid-30s, slick hair, smug-looking grin. Worked at Sierra Ridge Investments downtown. And I realized I'd seen him before at Rachel's holiday party last December. He hung around the bar all night, and I remember noticing how he kept sneaking glances at my wife when he thought no one was watching. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Maya, my operations manager. She said our meeting with Wasatch Community Bank had been moved to 10:45, and she was sending the proposal. Maya had been with me since day one. She's sharp, reliable, and knows both my business and personal life better than just about anyone. I texted her back. Thanks, heading into the office soon. When I walked into our downtown location, Maya was already there, moving through her checklist like a machine. But the second she looked up and saw my face, she paused. What happened? She asked, lowering her tablet. I hesitated for a moment. Maya and Rachel had gotten pretty close over the years, girls' nights, office parties, all that. But I needed someone to talk to, someone I trusted, someone who understood what I stood to lose. I think Rachel's been seeing someone else, I said quietly, showing her the photos on my phone. Maya's expression shifted fast, first shock, then concern, and then something else I couldn't quite pin down. It flickered too quickly. Was it guilt? Maybe discomfort? Maybe. There's an explanation, she said, her eyes avoiding mine. Have you asked her? She added. Not yet. I need to know exactly what I'm dealing with first. Maya nodded, though she still looked uneasy. Smart. So, what are you going to do now? I'm going to follow her tonight, I said. She told me she's got another client dinner. I let the words hang there. Maya looked up slowly. Logan, she said carefully, are you sure that's the right move? If she's innocent, that could really backfire. Her tone made me pause. It wasn't just worry. It was something else, nervousness. I narrowed my eyes. What aren't you telling me, Maya? She flinched, just slightly. Nothing. I care about both of you, okay? I don't want things to spiral if this is all a misunderstanding. I studied her face. We'd worked side by side for 7 years. I knew her tells. And right now, she was holding something back. Maya, I said firmly, if you know something about Rachel, you need to tell me. Right now. Her eyes flicked toward the office door like she was planning an escape. It's not my place, she said finally. I shouldn't get in the middle of your marriage. That was it. That's when I knew. She wasn't just worried, she was involved. She knew about the affair. Maybe she'd even helped cover for Rachel. The betrayal felt like another blow to the heart. How long have you known? I asked, my voice low and cold. The upcoming bank meeting didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was the truth. Maya looked like she might break right there in front of me. Fine, she admitted, her shoulders dropping. For months. I've known for about 4 months. My jaw tightened. She swore it was just a fling, Maya went on. She begged me not to say anything. I told her to stop, or at least be honest with you. For months, I repeated. And you've been looking me in the eye every single day. I never approved, Logan. Just what? I interrupted. Covered for her? Let me keep living in the dark. It wasn't my place to. Stop. I held up a hand. It was exactly your place. You've eaten at our dinner table. You smiled at both of us like nothing was wrong. Maya's eyes welled with tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. You're right. I took a breath to steady myself. Who else knows? Be honest. As far as I know, just me, she said quietly. And maybe Ryan's assistant. I nodded slowly. What do you know about this Ryan guy? Maya hesitated. He's been after her since the holiday party last year. He's got money, thinks the rules don't apply to him. And he's done this before. What do you mean? I overheard them arguing once, she said. He mentioned someone named Jenna. Told Rachel she wasn't going to end up like her. That stuck with me. Jenna. Another married woman. Maybe. I straightened up. Call the bank. Tell them I've got an emergency. And get my attorney on the phone. What are you going to do? She asked. I grabbed my keys. First, I'm getting my own hotel room for tonight. Then I'm going to see exactly where my wife goes for this so-called dinner. I booked a room at the Kimpton downtown. Then I drove to Rachel's office building and waited. At 6:20 sharp, she walked out, dressed to the nines in a sleek black dress I didn't recognize. Her makeup was heavier than usual, her hair freshly styled. She looked like she was headed to a date, not a business meeting. I followed her Hyundai at a safe distance. But she didn't go to a restaurant. She drove straight to a high-rise condo building in Granary District. I watched as she pulled into the underground garage, using a key card to get in. That wasn't her first time there. I parked across the street and called an old friend, Jason, who worked in real estate. Need a quick favor, I said. Who owns Unit 1243 at 99 West on 15th? A minute later, after some keyboard tapping, he replied. Ryan Blake. Bought it 9 months ago. I felt my stomach drop. Thanks. I'll explain later. I sat in my car for nearly an hour, staring at that building. This wasn't just a fling. This wasn't about a one-time mistake. My wife had a key to another man's home. She was living a second life while I was busting my back building our business. I thought about going up there, banging on the door, demanding answers. But that would just make me look like a hot-headed husband caught off guard. No, I had to be smarter than that. This wasn't about rage. This was about protecting myself, legally and financially, for what came next. I drove to our bank and opened our safe deposit box. I pulled out our marriage certificate, property titles, and investment records. Then I headed to my hotel and spent the night making phone calls to my bank, my lawyer, and finally, a private investigator. By the time the sun came up, I had a plan. Not a revenge plot. A survival strategy. The PI I hired, Derek, moved fast. By the next afternoon, he had a file ready on Ryan Blake. 37 years old. Never been married. Six-figure salary. And a track record of dating married women. There's a pattern, Derek told me as he laid out the photos on the table in my hotel room. He targets women whose husbands are successful, men who've built something of their own. He wines and dines them for a few months, then disappears once things start falling apart. What's he after? I asked. Not money. More like the thrill, Derek said. He's got family wealth. It's the game for him. Taking what another man built. I sifted through the pictures, Ryan going into his building, dining somewhere I'd never seen, shopping for what looked like jewelry. Likely not for himself. There's something else, Derek added cautiously. I tracked down Jenna Hayes. That name hit me like a jolt. The woman Maya mentioned? He nodded. Yeah. Her husband ran a custom furniture company. Ryan got involved with her last year. Marriage blew up. Divorce was nasty. Business took a hit. And then, Ryan got close to your wife. Would she talk to me? She wants to. Said she wished someone had warned her. Later that day, I met Jenna at a quiet cafe up in Park City. Blonde, early 40s, and looked like she'd lived through a storm. A familiar kind of exhaustion behind her eyes. He won't stick around, she told me after we introduced ourselves. That's not his thing. He doesn't want a partner, he wants a prize. How'd you find out? Text messages. My ex found them. By the time I realized what Ryan was doing, it was already too late. Eric couldn't get past the betrayal. I'm sorry. She leaned forward. Don't be sorry. Be smart. Ryan's not the problem, he's just the symptom. Your wife made the choice. So did I. Did you ever confront him? I tried, she said, her voice sharp. He laughed. But then I found out I wasn't the only one. There were 3 more women before me. What did you all figure out? That Ryan gets off on wrecking what other men have built. And that none of us deserved what our wives were willing to throw away so easily. Right then, my phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. Working late again. Don't wait up. I turned the screen toward Jenna. She let out a bitter laugh. Same line. Different wife. I thanked her, stood to leave, and she gently caught my arm. Whatever you decide to do, don't let him win by making you lose yourself. I nodded. Her words stuck. For the next 4 days, I went full recon mode. Derek shadowed Rachel and Ryan photos, times, places. They met mostly at his condo, occasionally at a sleek spot called Lenexa. Yes, they figured nobody would notice there. While they played house, I went to work. Quietly. I shifted half of our shared funds into accounts only I could reach. I created a digital paper trail, backed up photos, emails, texts, every financial doc, every investment file. I was building a wall of facts while she thought I was just tired from work. Maya kept calling, leaving long, guilty voicemails. On the 4th day, I finally picked up. You okay? She asked right away. Define okay. I said flatly. Logan. I know I messed up. I should have told you. Yeah, you should have. A pause. She's been asking if I've heard from you. She's starting to wonder why you've been crashing at the office so much. I almost laughed. The irony. She's worried about my late nights while she's shacked up with Ryan? She thinks you're just overworking. But there's something else. I overheard her on the phone with him yesterday. They're planning a weekend in Sundance next month. She's going to tell you it's a girl's trip with me. I clenched my jaw. Thanks for the heads up. What are you going to do? I'm going to have a talk with my wife. That night, I texted Rachel. Told her I wanted to take her out to dinner. At Lenexa, her not-so-secret hideout. She agreed, too eagerly. When I picked her up, she was in a red dress I'd bought her last Christmas. She even paused in the hallway mirror to adjust her lipstick, like she was getting ready for something special. I felt sick. How many times had she done that same little routine for him? You look nice, she said as we drove. Special occasion, I replied. Just wanted some time with my wife. At the restaurant, the host led us to a table tucked away in the corner. I watched as Rachel scanned the room, her eyes flicking around like she was searching for someone. Was she looking for Ryan? Or just hoping he wouldn't show up? I've never been here before, I said casually. What about you? She took a sip of water, a little too quickly. Once or twice. Work events. The food's amazing, she added. First lie of the night. Derek had already spoken to the staff. She and Ryan were regulars here, always sitting at the window. So, how's work? I asked, keeping it light. Busy, she said, launching into a story about the Dalton account and all the demands it came with. I let her ramble, watched her gestures, her facial expressions. They used to feel charming. Now they felt rehearsed, performed, calculated. Enough about me, she said, shifting the focus. How's the crypto business? Enlightening, I replied. I've learned a lot about value lately, what's real and what's fake. She tilted her head, trying to read between the lines. I reached into my jacket pocket and slid a small box across the table. What's this? She asked. Open it. Inside was Ryan's money clip, his business card still tucked inside, cash untouched. Her face turned pale. Where did you get this? From your car. The day after your accident. Along with that holiday and express receipt. Her eyes jumped toward the exit. Logan, I can explain. I'm sure you can, I said evenly. You've been explaining things for months now. To me, to Maya, probably to yourself, too. The shock in her face hardened into anger. You've been spying on me? I gave a humorless smile. Funny, that's what bothers you. She glared. So what now? You bring me here just to ambush me? Make a scene? No scene, I said calmly. Just clarity. I know about Ryan. I know about the condo on 15th. I know about Sundance. Her face shifted, calculating, recalibrating, trying to find a new angle. It wasn't serious, she said finally. Just a stupid fling. I was going to end it. When? Before or after Sundance? She reached for my hand across the table. I pulled away. Logan, we can work through this. People make mistakes. Relationships have recovered from situations like this before. Is that what Jenna Hayes thought too? Her eyes went wide. How do you? I've met her. And the others. Ryan's got a pattern. What others? She asked, her mask cracking. Your boyfriend treats relationships like trophies. You were just the next one. I leaned in a little. Tell me, did it make you feel special? Being chosen by him? Stop it, she snapped. You don't understand. We grew apart. You were always working, building that precious business of yours. You mean the business that paid for your car? Your clothes? The life you enjoyed while betraying my trust. She looked around, suddenly aware of her surroundings, then lowered her voice. I made a mistake, okay? I admit it. But your hands aren't clean either. What? I asked, stunned. All those late nights. Crypto conferences. You think I actually believed you were just working? I stared at her, disbelief hitting me like a slap. I was building our future. While ignoring me in the present, she said softly, eyes glistening. I was lonely. So lonely you needed a key to his condo? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I'm staying at the Kimpton, I said as I stood. I've spoken with my attorney. You'll be hearing from him tomorrow. You're leaving me? The tears finally came. Just like that. No, Rachel, I said coldly. You left me a long time ago. You just didn't have the guts to say it out loud. I laid some cash on the table for our untouched drinks and walked out, ignoring her calls behind me. As I got in my car, my phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Ryan just entered the restaurant. Perfect timing. I'd gotten what I came for. The rest was between them. When I got back to the hotel, I had 7 missed calls from Rachel. One text. Please come home. We need to talk. I didn't reply. Instead, I called Jenna Hayes. It's done, I said when she picked up. I confronted her. How do you feel? She asked. It felt like a fog had finally lifted. The morning after everything went down at Lenexa, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Rachel had called me 16 times through the night. Maya sent a message saying Rachel had shown up at her place around 2 a.m., completely unhinged. I ignored all of it. Instead, I sat down with my attorney, Daniel Reed. The evidence is solid, he said, flipping through the documents I'd gathered. Given Utah's laws on equitable distribution, her cheating won't directly affect how assets are split, but it gives us leverage. I'm not out to ruin her financially, I told him. I just want a clean exit. in full protection for the business. Daniel gave me a nod. That's rare. Most people come in looking for a fight. I just want my peace, man. My future. That's all. When I got back to the Kimpton, Rachel was sitting in the lobby. Gone was the polished, put-together woman I used to know. No makeup. Hair tied back. She wore jeans, not one of her usual tailored outfits. You can't just pretend I don't exist, she said, trailing behind me as I walked toward the elevators. I turned around and looked her in the eye. What is it you want, Rachel? To explain. To fix this, she said, her voice breaking. I made a huge mistake. Forgetting our anniversary is a mistake, I said firmly. But you were in a secret relationship and kept it from me every single day. The elevator doors slid open. I stepped inside. She followed. Ryan didn't mean anything, she said quickly. It was about attention, feeling wanted. Things I wasn't getting from you. So, that's my fault? I asked as we rode up. No, she whispered. But we both disconnected. You with your work. Me with him. I opened my room door and paused. Part of me wanted to close it in her face. But I knew this talk had to happen sooner or later. You could have just talked to me, I said, stepping aside. Suggested counseling. Time apart. Anything instead of going behind my back. I know. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I didn't know how to say it, and then it just spiraled. I stayed near the window, keeping some distance. She sat on the edge of the bed, nervous and unsure. Did you know about the others? I asked. Jenna. And the women before her. Her eyes got wide. He mentioned an ex named Jenna, but others? It's a routine for him, I said flatly. He targets the wives of successful men, draws them in, then disappears when it all falls apart. Rachel's face went pale. That can't be true. Ask Jenna Hayes yourself. I tossed her my phone with Jenna's contact saved. She'll tell you everything. Rachel stared down at the phone, then back at me. So what now? My lawyer will be in touch with yours. We'll sell the house. Split the assets fairly. You'll sign your partnership shares of my company back over. That's it? She asked quietly. Just like that. 9 years gone? You ended this marriage the moment you decided Ryan was worth lying to me for, I said. I'm just making it official. She stood up, her eyes glassy. I still love you, Logan. I looked at her, really looked, and felt nothing but emptiness. No, Rachel. You loved what I gave you, comfort, stability, status. Not me. That's not fair, she whispered. No, it's not. But it's the truth. And it's final. She walked out, shoulders sagging. I didn't feel triumphant. Just calm. Like I'd finally cut myself free from a beautiful illusion. For weeks after she moved out, Maya showed up at my office. Can we talk? She asked softly, lingering at the door. I motioned for her to sit. Since everything came out, we'd kept things strictly professional. Nothing more. I'm resigning, she said, sliding an envelope toward me. Because of Rachel? I asked. Because I broke your trust, she replied. And I don't see a way to rebuild that. Not here. I studied her. She looked genuinely remorseful. What will you do? Move to Portland. My sister's out there. Fresh start. I opened the envelope. Her resignation was detailed, professional, even included a transition plan. You know, I could counter this, I said. You're a real asset to the company. It's not about the job, she said quietly. It's about doing the right thing. She hesitated. There's one more thing I think you should know. My instincts kicked in. I braced myself. She's been in contact with Ryan again, Maya said. He's telling her he made a mistake. That they should be together. I sat back, eyebrows raised. And how exactly do you know that? She called me last week. Looking for advice, Maya said, almost defensively. I told her to leave you alone. That she's already caused enough damage. The words hit me, but not like they would have months ago. Honestly, I didn't feel much at all. Well, I said with a shrug, not our issue anymore. She looked a little surprised by how calm I was. That's it. You're not mad. Their drama stopped being my business the moment I filed the papers, I told her. Maya gave me a slow nod. You've changed. Had no choice, I said, leaning back in my chair. What about her? I asked. Is Rachel going to take him back? She's thinking about it, Maya admitted. Said she's got nothing left to lose. For a second, I almost felt bad for Rachel. Almost. But I knew exactly how this would go. Ryan would pull her close when it suited him, enjoy the moment, then drift away when it stopped being fun. That's typical for him. But that wasn't my fight anymore. I appreciate the update, I said. But you don't need to play messenger. You're not my spy. Maya stood up to leave, then paused at the door. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. Not just for keeping her secret, but for not being a better friend to you. After she left, I walked over to the window, looking out over downtown Salt Lake City. 7 months ago, I thought I had it all: thriving business, beautiful wife, future all mapped out. Half of that was gone now. But somehow, that left room for something else. Something new. That's when my phone rang. Have you heard? Jenna's voice came through, right to the point. You mean about Rachel and Ryan maybe getting back together? Just now. No, she said, her voice edged with satisfaction. I mean about his job. What about it? Ryan's been fired. Sierra Ridge Investments has some pretty strict ethics policies. After multiple complaints from me, a few other women, and even some clients, the company discovered he'd been mismanaging funds while getting involved in some questionable personal relationships. I let out a breath. I wouldn't call it joy, but I definitely didn't feel bad either. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. There was a short pause. Then she asked, "Want to grab coffee sometime?" Just as friends. Fellow survivors. 7 months ago, I would have passed. Too focused on the mess, too worried about appearances. But now? Sure, I said. I like that. I hung up, and for the first time in weeks, I felt myself genuinely smiling. Not because Ryan finally got what was coming to him. Not even because Rachel was out of my life. But because I was still standing. Still here. Still moving forward. 7 months after everything blew up, I signed the final divorce papers at Daniel's office. Everything was clean, fair, and, thankfully, fast by Utah standards. Rachel kept the Park City condo and got a reasonable settlement. I held on to my business and the house in Sugar House. Congratulations, Daniel said, shaking my hand. You handled this with more grace than most. No point burning it all down, I replied. We both made mistakes. Hers were just more decisive. As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed with a text from Jenna. Still on for dinner? What started as a simple coffee meeting had grown into a real friendship. We weren't dating. Neither of us was ready for that. But we understood each other in a way most people couldn't. Betrayal leaves a scar, and she got that. That night, when Jenna walked into the restaurant, I could tell something had changed. She looked lighter somehow. Ryan called me today, she said before I could even put my napkin in my lap. I raised an eyebrow. What now? He wanted to apologize. Believe it or not. Really? He's leaving Utah. From what I've heard, his reputation in the investment world here took a hit. Apparently, getting blackballed makes Salt Lake City feel a little smaller. Did Rachel go with him? I asked, trying to sound casual. No. That's the wild part. He said they broke up months ago. Claims he's getting professional help now. I sat there, letting that sink in. 7 months ago, that kind of news would have stirred something in me. Anger, maybe, or a bitter sense of justice. But now? It was just background noise. Like hearing about someone you used to know but barely remember. You believe him? I asked. Jenna took a breath. Sometimes, rock bottom shakes people awake. But honestly, his journey's not my concern anymore. Nor mine, I said, raising my glass. To indifference, the real opposite of love. She smiled and clinked her glass against mine. To rebuilding. Later, as I walked her to her car, she asked the one question I'd been avoiding. Have you heard from Rachel since the divorce? One email, I said quietly. She's moving to Atlanta. Fresh start. When Jenna asked how that made me feel, I had to pause and really think about it. Like closing a book I've already read, I said. One where I already know the ending. There's no point flipping back through the pages. She nodded, a quiet understanding in her eyes. The scary part, she said, is what comes next. Writing your new story. Yeah, I agreed. It is scary, but also kind of freeing. We said goodnight after that, but something had shifted in me. Something deep. That heavy weight, the betrayal that once filled every corner of my day, it had finally taken a back seat. It'd always be part of my story, sure. But it didn't get to write the next chapter. The next morning, there was an offer on my desk, an opportunity to expand my crypto exchange into Portland. 7 months ago, I probably would have hesitated, worried about how it would affect my marriage. Now, there was no hesitation, just wide-open possibility. I signed the deal that afternoon. Exactly 1 year to the day after I found out about Rachel and Ryan, I stood in the doorway of my new Portland office. Rain traced lazy patterns down the floor-to-ceiling windows. My Salt Lake City operations were running like clockwork under new leadership. In this move, it wasn't just business growth. It was personal. I was building something new. Something mine. My phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. Thinking of you today. Proud of how far you've come. She didn't need a reminder of the date. She just knew. That kind of understanding had become rare and meaningful. I'd flown her up to Portland twice to help consult on the new office layout. Whatever we had now, it didn't come with a label. But it was more than friendship. Carefully built. Respectful. Two people who'd both been through the fire and come out with the scars to prove it. As I was setting up my desk in the corner office, my assistant knocked. Your 11 o'clock is here, Mr. Barrett. My first official client in Portland, a tech firm looking to move part of its treasury into crypto. The meeting went smooth. We signed the deal. Shook hands. As the clients were leaving, one of them turned and asked, "Didn't you used to be based in Salt Lake City?" "I did," I said. "Needed a change of scenery." He smiled. "Most people talk about fresh starts. You actually made one." Later that afternoon, I called Jenna. "How's Portland treating you?" she asked. "Different," I said. "In all the right ways." I paused. "I'm flying back to Salt Lake City this weekend. Would you like to have dinner?" A real one this time. Not just coffee. There was a short silence. Not the kind that means no, but the kind where someone's thinking it through carefully. "I'd like that," she finally said. "And Logan, I'm glad you called." After we hung up, I walked back to the window. The ferry boats were gliding across Willamette River, leaving gentle wakes behind them. The man I'd been a year ago, he wouldn't even recognize the man standing here now. Stronger, wiser, more intentional. That betrayal, the one that nearly tore me apart, ended up being the thing that forced me to rebuild from the ground up. Only this time, I used better materials. My business was thriving. My confidence had returned. And for the first time in a long while, I was genuinely excited about the future. The biggest lesson I learned through all of it? Resilience doesn't mean you never hurt. It means you keep moving anyway. You keep growing. You keep showing up, even when it's hard. As the Portland skyline faded into the purple of early evening, I thought about everything I'd lost and everything I'd found. No, I wouldn't change what happened. Not even the painful parts. Because without Rachel's betrayal, I might have never discovered just how strong I really was. Or how much I valued real, honest connection. Some lessons show up in ugly packaging, but they tend to show up exactly when you need them most. Bye.